is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to my channel and welcome back into another episode of the Carlos Granados podcast. And in this episode, we're going to discuss a hot topic. We're going to discuss Nayib Bukele. Will it be a little bit of politics? Yeah, of course, because Nayib Bukele is the president. So naturally, we're going to discuss some of that. But I do want you guys to hear my perspective, my views, from an actual Salvadorian, not just somebody on the news, not just somebody who comes on TikTok and social media to get clout, none of that. I was born in El Salvador. I moved here when I was 10, and I remember what my country used to be like, and I know what my country is like today. So you guys will get really, really in-depth views of my opinion on what I think of what's happening, what I think about the dictatorship, what I think about him in general, and what I think about my country now. So this video, if you're watching on YouTube, there's timestamps that you can move forward from, right? So if you want to move straight into the topic, you can. So don't forget, you can fast forward to that. So, if you guys are impatient about it. But I will say, I want to thank everyone who has been supporting my channel, my podcast. We have been growing slowly but steadily. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for watching on YouTube. You can watch this video on 4K. And if you want to listen to this podcast on all the audio platforms, you can also do that as well. And you listen to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music for sure. So thank you guys for showing the love. If you're going to leave a rating for this channel, that also helps out the algorithm, and it helps me grow. Also, if you want to further support my channel, you can also look into buying some water bottles from Epic Water Filter, who they are my partners. So at checkout, you can use CG1 as a promo code, and you'll get 50% off your total. Epic Water Filters, the reason I partnered with them is because essentially they're, as the word says, filters. So you can buy filters for your sink. You can have pictures for your fridge, and it filters your water, right? And it filters a lot of the chemicals that the water may have. I think one of the coolest part about this is the fact that you can go on a hike, you can go on a trail, buy something like this, and they'll carry a water filter inside that you can essentially filter your water. So if you like to go camping, that's also a great use. So just look into it, click on the website that I'm gonna leave in the description below. And you guys can just go in there and check if you like any products. And of course, remember, if you purchase anything, first of all, thank you ahead of time for supporting the channel, but also use code CG1 at checkout for 15% off. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. But before I discuss the actual podcast and the topic today, I want to discuss a wholesome moment that I had at church yesterday. And I wanted to share this because I felt like it was very important to share with people. So I go to church yesterday. Lately, if you guys have been watching my videos, I've been down bad. There's ups and downs that I do have with my health, right? And I go to church and I'm in worship service, right? I think worship service lasts around 3 songs or something like that. So it can be about maybe like 12 minutes to 15 minutes. Regardless, in the last song, I started getting very emotional. I started having a lot of emotions, strong feelings, energy. I feel like the Holy Spirit was there. I feel like the Holy Spirit was, in me. And I was just having the full worship experience. Now, there was this gentleman that was sitting next to me, probably around 40 to 50 years old. He came by himself. I went by myself. And we were sitting there and we were just worshiping. And as I'm worshiping, as I'm singing, and by the way, the song was, "What a beautiful name it is, the name of Jesus Christ, my King." You guys know this song. So I'm singing it and I'm worshiping, and obviously tears start flowing down, maybe a little bit more than I am willing to admit, but a lot of tears started flowing. I started getting very emotional, and this is just one of those moments where you start crying and you just can't help but cry because of so many strong emotions, right? is one of those moments that you know you needed to be there and you were there. And I could tell, by peripheral vision that the guy next to me, he was also worshiping. Um, and when I started clearing my tears, just kind of wiping my tears from my eyes, I saw that he looked at me, and I am a very vulnerable person. So I don't mind crying in front of people. I've cried in my channel plenty of times, and I don't mind sharing that. Not because I want people to feel sorry for me, but because I let you guys in my life and what is truly going on with my life. Sharing that spirit of vulnerability and boldness. So I think in that moment, when I was wiping my tears, I glanced at him and I can tell that he's also crying and wiping his tears as well. So there is two grown men, different ages, by ourselves there at church, worshiping the Lord, and both of us crying. And I thought in that moment, I said, man, I saw for our first, I was so grateful for what God was, doing to us and the emotions that, we were feeling. But one of the things I remember was, wow, you don't know and you never know what a person is going through in those moments. He doesn't know my struggles. I don't know his struggles. I don't know his issues. He doesn't know my issues. All I know is that we're there and we needed to be there. And we found ourselves in our moment. So afterwards, after worship, Pastor Vance and typically the pastors at Victory, they always tell us to meet the person next to you, right? And I knew that was coming, so I'm trying to wipe my tears. So when I see him, I just I wouldn't be crying so much. Anyways, so they tell us, the Pastor Vance tells us to have to shake somebody's hands or say hi to somebody next to you. And I do. And the first thing we do is turn towards each other because we knew we were having that moment, And as soon as I see him, he gives me a big hug and I hug him back. And I said, Jesus loves you, man. And he just hugs me and we look at each other. And I kid you not, with that one look, we just knew. We just understood. Like, hey, I know. Right? Like it's all right. I know. And that was so beautiful. Nothing else was said. I don't know if this is the thing about men or it's just the fact that we had been getting very emotional. Afterwards, we saw each other and we just gave each other that look. First of all, we smiled and it was of happiness, but we gave each other that look of, I know, man. I understand. I feel you. And that to me meant a lot. And I'm sure it meant a lot to him. And we didn't speak for the rest of the service. If anything, we were very engaged. We were paying attention. We were taking notes on our phone throughout the day, throughout the service, I should say. And after that service, before the service ended, I said, man, God bless you, bro. It was, it was good sitting next to you. That's it. But that moment is bigger than it's what it seems. It means a lot to both of us, and I know that because of the vulnerability that we share with each other. And think about this. Us as men, we don't do that very often. We don't just cry in front of anybody, especially not in front of another man that you don't know. But because God is so good to us and God is so graceful with us, we knew that moment and what it meant. And it was just very, very beautiful. And thinking about it makes me emotional again because there was two men in need worshiping the Lord, and the Lord was working through us and making us feel those strong emotions of like, dude, hey, we're here for a reason and God has us here for a reason. And I wanted to share that moment with you guys because I felt like it was, first of all, it's a beautiful moment. And two, it was a moment of vulnerability by two men that didn't know each other. And we still don't know each other. I didn't even get his name. That's how guys are, though. Sometimes we don't even get each other's names, but we just know. We see each other and we understand. We got it. Hey, brother, I'm here. I love you. That's good enough. That to us means a lot. So all in that to say, if you have a man in your life that you love, that you care for, don't forget to say little things to him, such as I love you, I care for you, I'm proud of you. Those words mean a lot to somebody, even if they are the most macho men that you can think of. There's a lot of men that suffer in silence, that suffer from within. And sometimes in order for us to to show those emotions, those tears, it takes the Lord to bring that out of us. Imagine that. So if you have a husband, have a brother, a father, don't forget to let them know, hey, I love you. And I promise you, it means a lot to them, more than you ever know, because that keeps them going. That keeps us going. Our families, our friends, the love that we receive, that is worth a lot. To be honest, sometimes words like that can be worth a life. I'll let you think about that. I'll let you think about that. But all right, I wanted to share that beautiful moment with you guys before we get into a little bit of politics, which is probably like the contrary of what's going on today in this episode. But as you guys know me, I am going to share those moments. I'm going to share those vulnerabilities, those moments where I feel like God is working through us, and He forgives us for who we are and our sinful nature. And I truly, truly believe that. So thank God, right? Jesus, the Lord, He's good. So it's a blessing. And don't forget, the Bible says, "For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." I'll leave you guys with that, and let's get right into the purpose of this podcast in this video, right? I feel like that's already very purposeful, but here we go. So if you skip what just happened into this part of the video, well, let's get right into it. So let's talk about the dictatorship, man. What I want to start off is by telling you my childhood in El Salvador. I want you guys to understand as to why I am so strong and the feelings that I have towards what my country is going through and the president that we have now, right? When I grew up in El Salvador, all I knew was a lot of freedom, not just as a kid, but as a person. The way you grow up over there, and in that moment in the 90s, it was definitely less technology for sure, but less technology in general than you see in other countries, specifically in the United States, where technology was more advanced, right? This is a first world country. This is the top of the top. In El Salvador, third world country, right? We used to play with marbles back in the day. We used to play with kites. I mean, we used to have competition with kites. We used to play with yo-yos. We used to find games about anything, playing soccer, you name it. I remember going to playing soccer games far in town. I mean, and the towns that you think of here is not what what the word sounds like over there or what it is over there, right? There's a lot of different neighborhoods, but it's not like what you think here in America, that classic neighborhood, right? Everything is close, but at the same time, there's a lot of space. So when you go to another part of the neighborhood, you can call it, or the town, you're going a mile or two away, but I was going by myself as a 7, 8-year-old, 9-year-old to go play soccer games. And these were competitive soccer games, right? I remember used to traveling with my friends to different cities to go play soccer games, because this is why it's something that we did, and it's something that I felt like was a lot of freedom as a kid, right? You can't just send a kid, a 9, 10-year-old kid, to go play games like that. Sometimes we had an adult present, but for the most part, if they were a couple miles away, you would just go travel, getting your bike, right? Bikes are very popular over there, and go play the game and then come back by yourself, right? That is, I feel like, how much freedom I had, and that is how much I left when I came to the United States in El Salvador, right? A lot of freedom. You saw a lot of your friends constantly at school. People who went to work, you saw them passing through the streets. It just felt very open, and it's definitely a different lifestyle, right? So when I left El Salvador, this is where the gang violence, the murders started happening more and more and more. I remember going to visit El Salvador when I was 12, 14, and then 19. And every time I went, things changed and things were getting worse every single time. It was getting dangerous, right? So, how do I feel about Nayib's dictatorship or quote unquote dictatorship? I'm okay with it. I am okay with it. And I think it all to me comes down because of what our country represents, what it means to the world now. Before, we were known as a country. El Salvador was known as a country of violence, of death. We were per capita, we were the leading murders per capita in the world. That was the only thing that we could say that we're known for. Imagine that, right? And this man comes in and he changes the country 180 for safety, right? The same safety that I had when I left the country back in 2003. And if not even better, if I'm being honest, right? So I'm going to go into more depths, and I want you guys to have an open mind and hear me out. Just listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth, because a lot of people counter everything that I'm about to say with, well, people, innocent people still suffer. Hold that thought. Hold that thought and let me get into it, right? Let me tell you how bad it got with violence. And when you hear gang and violence, you only see the numbers and the statistics. Let me share the experience. Let me put you in that situation of where I was at when I was younger. And then maybe you have a different mindset. And maybe it opens your eyes as to why the dictatorship that you're hearing, the quote unquote dictatorship, maybe it's not as bad. There is a reason why this man still has a 90%, close to 90% approval of people for him to stay as president. So when I was here in the States and I came back from El Salvador, when the peak of gang violence was in El Salvador, and I promise you I'm not exaggerating when I say this, but there was at least somebody that we knew of or we grew up with in our neighborhood that was killed by gang members at least once or twice per week. We got the news. This person was shot today. This person was murdered today. Your friend, do you remember the one you grew up with? He died today. How? Gang members killed him. It got to the point where we got so desensitized as Salvadorians from our own people being killed. These were not people that you heard of. This is people that I knew, that I grew up with, that we shared, right? The community that you were in, close friends, family sometimes. And you got the news for years. Like I said, every once or twice per week, somebody that you knew of, that you grew up with again, died because of gang violence. Imagine you becoming desensitized to death, somebody dying in your country because it's becoming a normal. It's becoming something that is okay because it's becoming so constant. You're receiving that phone call every week or every other week of that happening to somebody that you knew. I'm over here being 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old, growing with those news. The same streets that I walked in, people were being murdered. That the paths that I used to take to go to school, people were decapitated in. Not just that, women being raped, and there was nothing anybody was doing about it because gangs ran our country. They didn't just exist, they ran it. Let me keep going. Women, if you had a daughter over there, there was a possibility that your daughter could possibly be raped on her way to school, get kidnapped, taken, raped, and then murdered. And it was not just a simple murder. They would decapitate her, bury, and you never know. You never found your family members, your daughters, your mothers. And all I remember was trying to desensitize yourself from that because it was normal. Something so hideous, crazy, violence, murders was becoming normalized. And when I say they ran the country as well, they started charging rent to people who were making $5-10 per day on the fields outside in El Salvador. If you know El Salvador and you've been there, you know how hot that country is. And they had to pay rent to the gang members, not the government, to the gang members. Guess what happened if you didn't, or if you were late on your rent? That was enough to cost you your life. Not just your life, your son's life, your daughter's life, your mom's, father's life, nieces and nephews' life, all the above, homie. It didn't matter, right? Because you didn't pay rent to them, because they ran that part of the land. They ran that part of your city, that part of the country. It didn't matter. And you know what the government was doing for us? Shit. They weren't doing shit for those people. You know what the government did with the money? Hey, we're going to get a little bit economical here. If you guys don't know, El Salvador, the currency of El Salvador is the United States dollar. We don't have el peso anymore, right? El colón. We don't have it anymore because our president at the time was so stupid to make the US dollar their official currency. And I say stupid because there is no way that El Salvador, as a third world country, can produce and make people do not get paid in dollars. They get paid in pesos still, but in order for you to buy products and to live, you paid in dollars. And back in the day, $1 was worth about 8 pesos and 75 cents. So 8.75. When the dollar came to El Salvador, we had a chart that told us what a quarter was, what it translated to in pesos, what a dollar was, what was the equal in pesos, because we were changing to the dollar. We were getting the official and new currency, right? But it was the worst decision. The United States actually supplemented El Salvador with money, I think billions of dollars, if I'm not mistaken. So that money can flow from the government down to different states, cities, different structures, so then it can supplement the people. But what did the government do? They stole the money. They misused the money. They kept it to themselves. And that is just a summary that I'm giving you. So you guys can understand how shitty our government has been for years. They promise after presidency that the gang violence will be better, that the economy will be better, just like every politician, you know? And going back to the farmer, the hardworking family, having to pay taxes essentially for just living to gang members. Now you're paying $1, $2 a day, sometimes even more, depending if you had a business or not, to gang members so you can just live. They weren't protecting you. They were just taxing you with no benefits. Why? That's how they supplemented the guns. That's how they lived. That was their job. Their job was to charge innocent people of their hardworking money so they could live. That was their job. That's how they made their money, right? And if you didn't, if you were late by any chance, that was your life. I don't want you to listen just to my words. I want you to actually envision you, your family member in that situation, right? If you didn't have enough, after all your bills were paid, by the way, after your family was being fed, if you didn't have enough to pay something else, that was your life. That was the end of you, your family members, somebody that you knew. And they didn't care, man. The gang members didn't give a fuck. Excuse my language. So when you're telling me that a dictator has cleaned those streets, has put those, I want to say a stronger word here, but I'm not going to. Those gang members in a prison for life, then good. Good. And then there's a counter to all of that I just said, that you just heard me spew. Oh, but there's innocent people that end up in those prisons. Yes, I agree with you. And you know what? It's unfortunate, right? But how come your ass now cares about those people? What about the people that were being murdered 10 years ago, 20 years ago? Their whole lineage were being cleaned out. Where were you at then? Where was that same fucking energy when those people were being decapitated, when daughters were being murdered and raped? Where was your energy then about our innocent people? But now we're caring about the same people that did that damage. We're caring about their life. Oh, the guy that got sent from the United States to and got deported to El Salvador, to that prison, right? And you guys made a big deal about him, right? An innocent person, apparently, even though here I heard that he had charges and he was abusing his wife. I don't know. You can do your research on that. But that one example is what you take and you live with of an innocent person who maybe might not have been so innocent, but maybe he didn't deserve to be there. Fair. It sucks. It's unfortunate. But how come that same energy wasn't there 10 years ago, 20 years ago? Why is it now? Over one person. What about the hundreds and thousands of people that murdered, that were innocent? Why wasn't your energy there? Where were you at then? Where was your post on social media? Right? Where was your activism about our country and the kid that got shot on his way to school just because? Right? Of family members, moms who don't have any idea whatever happened to their kid, because sometimes they wouldn't just murder them. They will bury them. I had a friend I grew up with. We were really good buddies in school. About 3 years of me being here in the United States, he disappears, never to be seen again. I knew him, his sister, his mom, his father. I grew up with them. Really good friend, man. And to this day, we don't know what happened to him. Missing, gone, disappeared. His family has no news of what happened to him. Some of the stories that I heard is he's buried under a tree. That is how far we got to finding out where he's at. A tree in El Salvador. Have you know what El Salvador looks like? Do you know what it looks like? A tree? Brother, that is how bad these people were. And you want to make an argument about innocent lives. Where was your energy when my friends were being murdered about innocent lives? Right? This is why we don't care about your opinion. It's unfortunate that innocent people have to suffer in a minor scale, by the way, minuscule scale, for change to happen. When have you seen peace happen in this world without innocent people suffering or dying? It has always happened throughout history. What you have now, whether it's in the United States or in another country, in Europe somewhere, or in Asia that's considered a first world country, how do you think you have your quote unquote freedom? There's people that died, gave up their lives, that unfortunately were bombed, they were killed, they were shot, whatever you want to call it. Those people pay the price. So now you can have your quote unquote freedom now. So you can have, so you're asking have an opinion about what's going on. Freedom has a price, and sometimes innocent people pay it. But if you ask me, do you prefer a couple people suffering that are innocent over hundreds of thousands of people through gang violence? I think you know the answer to that question. So when you start talking about innocent people, don't just stay on the one side of the room. Open the door and go to the next and see what happened in that side of the room to get to where we're at now. Right? And you know what person was able to change that? Nayib Bukele. Sorry, my mic just went out because I'm spitting facts. Nayib Bukele, our president, he was able to change that. You can think of him whatever you want, but our country has never been looked upon and looked at in the lenses that it is now. You know why people know El Salvador know now? Because of a president. Oh, where are you from? I'm Salvadorian. Oh, Nayib Bukele. Hey, where are you from? I'm from El Salvador. Bitcoin. Hey, where are you from? El Salvador. Oh my God, I went there last month. It was so beautiful. Your people are so nice. Your culture is so nice. The beaches, tourism, the safety. People are moving to El Salvador that had never happened in my life. For the first time in our lives as Salvadorian people, we have something to be proud of. And we don't just get shit on because of our violence anymore. That's what this president has meant to our country. And it's not about just him. We're not praising him because you know what? He praises God. What he does says, we're going to live the values of the Lord. And I'm going to implement that to our country. And whether you believe in religion, where you believe in the Lord or not, that's up to you. But I prefer the values of that the Lord has and that you can live by than anything else, because at least there's some type of morals there that you can live by. There's substance that comes with that. And that's worth something. Right? So we don't praise the man, but the man deserves his respect, his dues for what he has done for our country, man. Think about everything I just told you, and it gets deeper. I have stories and stories and stories for days when it comes to how messed up our country was. What I just told you wasn't even half of it, bro. And this is just one life that experienced this and suffer from, you can say, right? Or witnessed. This is just one life, one journey. Imagine the hundreds and millions of stories that's still out there that you haven't heard. But now those stories, those kids that are growing up in El Salvador, they won't have stories like mine. They won't have stories like anybody else because they're growing up in a better country. And the country that I was growing up in when I was younger. That is the difference. You are having this selective hearing if you're opposed to what that man is doing. And if anything, will there be and has there been innocent people mistakenly accused? Have there been innocent people? Have they paid for some of the things that Nayib Bukele is changing and trying to make? Yes, we can agree on that. But that it has been the case forever. And am I justifying? No. But if a few people unfortunately have to pay or suffer because you're trying to turn this country into what it is now, then I am willing to live with that risk. I am willing to live with that. It's unfortunate to say, and maybe not a lot of people will say it, but it's true. It happens. It's life. Life is not fair, man. We live in a world full of sin, in a fallen world. It's gonna happen, right? But if you ask me, that is better than the hundreds and thousands of people that died for no reason. There was no purpose behind their deaths. There was no reason for some people to die. And it didn't matter how young or old you were. Gang violence, gang members, they didn't care, man. All their care was about their clique and about themselves. And listen to me when I tell you this, they did not care your age. They will kill a baby if needed. If it meant supporting their lifestyle, if it meant living by their code, they will kill your grandmother. It doesn't matter. It didn't matter. And you're coming to me complaining about this dictatorship? That is what a dictatorship looks like in my country? Hell yeah. All right. Well, keep that shit up. That's why we don't mind. This is why we don't care about what the outside thinks. I know what I've lived. You haven't. So don't have an opinion on something you know nothing about. I am giving you an honest experience of what my country has been like, from somebody that was born over there, that went over there, somebody who lost kids, family members. You know, let me get a little bit more. Let me give you another example. It's a little bit more, I wouldn't say intimate, but it gets a little bit closer to my heart. In El Salvador, bikes, as I mentioned earlier, they are very popular, right? Because cars, you know, a lot of poor people can't afford cars. You either take buses or bikes. And there was this guy who used to fix bikes for everybody, for what we call a colonia, a colony. But it's not the same thing as you think of it in English, right? But it's like a neighborhood essentially translates to. It's an equivalent. And he used to fix the bikes for everybody. When I was a kid, man, I was 5, 6, 7, 10 years old. I used to go to him. He used to fix my bike whenever something was wrong with it. He ended up getting murdered. He ended up getting stoned and macheted to death in the same street that I used to take to go to school. I think I was about maybe 12 to 14. I don't remember anymore. And he died because he didn't want to obey the gang members' laws. Their laws, not the government, their laws. He was killed. Worse than people are killed for actually murdering somebody else. Innocent life, again, an innocent life. Stoned. I remember his body was cut from the machete, um, and it was an unfortunate event. How another friend, you know what? I can be here all day, all day, and it doesn't get better. It gets worse. So I tell you the gang side of things because now in El Salvador, you don't see that anymore. Or at least you see it less. And Nayib Bukele is being so hard on gang violence now that if you were to have tattoos that they look off, you will get arrested. But it's not about the people and innocent people that are maybe not in gangs and they just have tattoos because they enjoy it, they like it. It's about the principle. It's about sending a message. He's not messing around. The change is happening. Change has happened, and it will continue to happen. And if that's what it takes to make the country better, then so be it, man. But you're worried about the person that got sent from the States to the prisons in El Salvador. That is your worry. That is your concern. Go talk to the mother whose daughter got raped for being just a woman, who got murdered and buried, who got decapitated and buried. Go talk to her. Tell her that it's more important that someone got sent to a prison. He didn't die, by the way. Than that. Then what happened to their family members on a weekly basis? Go talk to them. Come talk to me about my friends that were married that we grew up with, about family members. But you don't want to hear, you don't want to go there, right? Your activism ends only on the shit that supports your narrative. And so when you talked about a dictatorship, if that's what a dictatorship looks like, then let that shit look like that in my country then. All day, every day, 24/7, 365 days out of the year. Run it. And run it back to back to back. That is, we know what we lived. And you know what's funny? A lot of the people that are support from Nayib are, if not most of them, are here from the States, right? And the reason is because most people that flee the country during those days of violence and gang members, they came here to the States, right? And we had to send money to our country so the country can function. Without the money from the people that are made from the States, and that money being sent to El Salvador dies, man. The people there would die. It depends on America's economy. And I'm not afraid to admit that. I'm proud of that. And America has played a big role into that. But the reason I say that is because we have no economy in El Salvador. And what Nayib is doing is trying for El Salvador to function economically on its own without needing the assistance of people that are here. He's working around tourism so people can work around the beaches, the beautiful beaches, and the economy can support itself. Will that ever happen? I don't know, but damn it, he's trying. He's letting companies go to El Salvador. Big companies. So hopefully students who go to school or they have some type of future, have some type of career, so then the economy can flow in itself. It's not hard to understand. But before that, there was no hopes for all Salvadorian people. That people that lived over there is because of the people that lived here. It's simple. Mathematically, they will not be able to survive. And I'm just giving you simplistic terms, right? Or a simplistic summary. Without the people here, the people over there don't survive. The economy doesn't survive. It's not good enough. We have the dollar over there. People earn in pesos and they pay and live in dollars. Math does not math. And it's simple. So he's trying to focus on tourism. Hey, look at what we're building here. Why don't you come invest in our country? Look how beautiful it is. What was the first order of business for that to happen, though? For the violence to stop, for the gang members to be stopped, for them to be put in prisons, high security prisons, and they live like dogs in there. That is what it took, and that is what it takes for our country to have stepped in the right direction. And you think I'm talking down on a lot of stuff, or maybe on the gang members? It's not just that. The president tells you that. The people will tell you that. All of us have the same sentiment. Unfortunate, man. It's unfortunate. But it's not as unfortunate as to what we suffered and what our people suffered back in the day. You know? And if this is what dictatorship looks like in our country, let it be it. You're focusing on the wrong thing if you're against what he's trying to do. And again, will innocent people suffer and have suffered because of it? Yeah, I agree with you. I don't pretend to act as if it was all perfect, but you have to acknowledge that it can't be perfect. It's an unfortunate circumstances of events, but we are so much better than what we used to be. And we are in such a better spot. I am proud of my country now. And it's because of Nayib's presidency and his quote unquote dictatorship. There's pride that we have now. We can go back to El Salvador now and walk the same streets without having that constant fear of death. Imagine that. Death is from the enemy, man. For the Lord did not give me a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. The fear of death, of you dying when you're walking or supposed to be walking, fleeing your country, is from the enemy, man. It's not good. It's evil. It's biblical. If you want to put it into those terms, if you want to apply it to that. Now people are not worried. Back in the day, when all this gang violence was going on, as soon as the sun came down, you were in your house. You will not leave your house at night. There was no reason for you to be out there. Just because of you being out or being late could have cost you your life. Because that is when they're in the streets the most, you know? But now, that's not the case. You feel the actual freedom. You feel the liberty that we have now. You feel that the country's going in the right directions. Roads are being fixed that were promised from other presidents, but now they're actually being fixed. And to go farther, maybe this might be my last point. We'll see. Unfortunately, when you have a third world country, there's a lot of people with poor mentality. They don't know what good looks like. So changes to them feels and looks wrong, but they don't know what good and right looks like because they've never had it. And when I mean they have a poor mentality, I'm not just talking economically, right? I'm talking they don't know what prosperity looks like. They have no idea. So when Nayib takes steps to make El Salvador a, f- a f- aiming it to be a first world country, it's hard for them to accept it. It's hard for them to live it because they don't know what it looks like. But the people in the United States, like us, we're like, that's the right direction. Why? Because we live it here in America. We know what it looks like here in America. Now, is America a perfect country? No. But damn, it is giving us a lot of good life. It's giving us a lot of good opportunities. Whatever your thoughts are on America, it's giving a lot of people their dream life. And we know what it looks like. So when you hear a lot of people saying, oh, you guys don't know because you don't live here. Like, we left there because of shit that was going on. Don't tell us we don't know. We that's the reason we left. Unfortunately, you didn't have the opportunity to leave. We did. And when we did, we came to better ourselves, and we know what our first country looks like. We know what good roads look like. Again, not perfect, but damn, they're good. We know what an economy is supposed to flow like. Not perfect, but it's a first world country, and we know what it's like. We know how it moves. When we go to El Salvador, we weren't seeing that movement, but now we do. And people are there, they still have a third world country mentality. But this is why us that live here, Salvadorian Americans, we support that country and we support the president a lot because it's for the better. It does. Even if you can still, cherry pick this about him and this and that, brother, you cannot cherry pick the fact that is one of the safest countries in the world. After being the leading country in murder per capita. Those are facts. No printer. There's nothing that you can say towards that argument and towards many other arguments that makes your case look better. It doesn't. Every president's going to have an issue, a problem. We'll deal with it when we get there. But when there are bigger issues and there are bigger problems and there is more innocent people paying for just living and we take care of that, then that is what matters the most. That is what we should care about the most. And that is what the president has cared about the most. I mean, the fact that Bitcoin, whether you believe in crypto or not, dude, he's making first world country moves in a third world country, but people don't understand it because they never had it. They never seen it. He is part, you know what's crazy? He is friends with America and the president of the United States. He is also friends with China. He's also friends with countries in Asia. Bro, Nayib doesn't care about sides. He cares about El Salvador. He doesn't mind having a relationship with both countries, and both countries are aware of that. But it's not about them. It's about us. It's about El Salvador. I remember, it's crazy. People nowadays are wild. I had when Donald Trump became the president, and however you feel about the president of the United States, that's not the point of this. Nayib Bukele congratulated on social media, congratulated Donald Trump on becoming the president of the United States, right? I reposted Nayib Bukele's post, letting people know you might not be okay with who got elected in the United States, but that's not Nayib Bukele's purpose. He is congratulating a president of the biggest country in the world. He's going to have a relationship with them. He's going to have a good relationship with the president of the United States and with America. If it doesn't benefit El Salvador, why would you want to have the United States against you? That's stupid. Again, it's not about the president here. It's about the principle. But people completely miss that. I try to say something along the lines of my social media, and there were people that came after me. Oh, you support this. Oh, you support Trump. You support. I'm like, dude, you completely missed my post. That post was not about America. It was about El Salvador. I'm trying to help you understand, your ignorant ass, that Nayib is building a relationship with the president of America, whoever it was, whether it was from the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. He was going to build a relationship because it benefits El Salvador. As I mentioned earlier, he's friends with China and the countries in Asia. He's cool with them. I'm not saying they're besties, but they have a professional relationship. That's smart. That's business. That's a man that cares about his country. And both parties know that. I try to do that and people literally unfollowed me to try to help them why our president was making certain decisions. He doesn't have to support what the United States of the president of the United States of America supports. But he is smart enough to know I'm a president. I have to lead my people. And if that means having a professional relationship with you, if that means congratulating you, right? Doing your due diligence as a president, I'm going to do it. Why is that so hard to grasp and understand? People came after me, man. Let me tell you. Crazy. I had one girl tell me, oh, how come you don't care about the deportation and your people and like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, the post was not about that. You saw a picture of Trump and your mind went crazy. And I'm like, this post was not about him. I'm trying to help you understand why he's doing it. Before this last presidency, Nayib had already made and taken actions towards Bitcoin City, right? Guess who's going to lead the way into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? The United States of America. Nayib Bukele and El Salvador have hundreds of millions of dollars in Bitcoin. And I think he's doubled or tripled. I don't know how much, but he's getting, as Bitcoin keeps going up, El Salvador's money keeps going up. And he's going to keep using that money to better the country, right? But if he's aware of what's going on in El Salvador and in the States, why would he not have a good working relationship? Explaining that to people, though, because it's politics and it's a very sensitive topic to some people, they miss that, right? But Nayib is doing what he's supposed to be doing as a president for El Salvador and for his people. Can you blame him? Can you blame him? No, right? So if this is what dictatorship will look like and he gets elected again, run it back then. Go for the three-peat. Not because we aren't concerned about dictatorship, but brother, if this is what our country looks like under dictatorship, let that be it. We are 100% in. Objectively, if you think about it, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? So many points that I can discuss, and I can be here all day, every day. But I think it's a topic. It's a hot topic. In the past, we haven't. When we hear about dictatorship, it's always been negative. The outcome has never been positive, right? But dude, since 2019, when Bukele got elected 6 years ago, the country has done a complete 180 with 6 years. Imagine what he can do in another 6 to 10 years. You can't negate what he has done. And what he has done outweighs the outcome of having a dictatorship. And they will continue to outweigh it if he continues to go in the same path he has been doing. He's completed the promises the other presidents have made. It's taken about 10, 20 years because those presidents lied. They were thieves. Some of them went to jail for stealing money, Salvadorian people's money. You know, the same people that, they're innocent and all that stuff that you claim that, Nayib is hurting. What about those people that got their money stolen from presidents? What about those innocent people? Where were you at then? Where was your energy then? Right. Mm-hmm. So he's completing promises that we would have never thought. We're seeing our country flourish in front of our eyes. You know how hard it is for you to see that? We live in America, right? I live in America here in the States. I didn't get to see America flourish. I wasn't alive when that was happening. When America became America. I wasn't alive to see that. But dang, I'm alive to see my country flourish and becoming what it can become. Right? And don't listen, I have an open mind. And in the future, if he starts getting over his head, if he actually becomes a dictator where now the bad is outweighing the good, we can have discussions then. And I am open to change because I think change is good. It keeps people on its toes. Sometimes it keeps you grounded. I'm okay with that discussion. But for right now, it's not even a discussion. It's not even a question. You asked any Salvadorian objectively, about what their country has become. And if you ask any Salvadorian that were born in El Salvador about El Salvador now under Nayib Bukele's presidency, you'll see it in their eyes what it means to us. And again, we don't praise him. He's a man. He's human. But damn, he's done a good job. Right? His Lord is my Lord. He believes in God. I believe in God. He claims and he, in front of hundreds and thousands of viewers and millions of viewers, that he's led by God. Now, there's some things that you can see that he's being led by God. The relationship he has with the Lord is with him and the Lord. But I preferred someone that's being led by the Lord in my country, someone that's being led by the Lord. I'm okay with that because we worship and praise the same God. Then that's cool with me. You know? So I'm gonna end with that. I have so many topics that I can discuss. I'm telling you, man, we can get really deep into this. Let me know if you want to hear more about this, my perspective. I'm not open. I'm not closed-minded. So if you have constructive criticism in the comment section below, leave it. We'll discuss it. I can come back to my next episode. Obviously, don't forget to click the bell so you can get a notification when everything goes live. And I can answer those questions. I have no problem. But don't come bash me. Let's have a conversation, right? Be appropriate. It's good for what we're seeing in our country. It's good. And it's a blessing that we've never thought we would have seen ever. You know, El Salvador is changing in front of your eyes, in front of my eyes. And as long as he's president, I prefer him being our president than anybody else that has been a president in our country. Don't say this is a bad president when you don't know what our other presidents have looked like. If you think he's bad, I'll wait until you find out about the last 7. Just wait then. Then you might even change your mind. Do your research on that. You know? But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming into another episode of the Carlos Granados podcast. I hope this was insightful. I hope that you get to understand from a true Salvadorian's perspective. It's not about being right or wrong here. It's not about me being right, me being wrong. I'm just letting you know and sharing my journey with you guys so you guys can see what it has meant to us, what we have lived, experienced, and witnessed. And this is just one story. One. So thank you guys for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you guys for watching. You can watch this video in 4K. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And maybe I'll continue to talk more as more news come out and you can get my opinion on it. I'm not a very political person, but I do have a heart and I do have a mind. And I think it was just time to share some thoughts, right? Also, don't forget that you can listen to this podcast on all the audio platforms. I will leave the link to everything else below. So you guys can check those out. And don't forget to leave your boy a rating. Don't forget to like the channel. It helps with the algorithm. And turn on your notifications so you can get every update, every podcast, every YouTube video, every short from my channel. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. See you guys on the next one. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. As always, peace and love, familia. Deuce.